How can we clear it up?
Putting it closer. And when you need to show this, you turn the chair. The chair. Still going live?
We're live now. Shalom alaikum, everybody. Shalom alaikum. I'm trying to get focused more on this 28-year cycle here. Bring it closer. As we continue, we will improve on our technological skills. But understanding the 28-year cycle is first I'm going to have to address who is this Kual Tremonic Alfred somebody. I don't know who he is, but he has a comment out here on our solar calendar page. Said that this is the black version of the KKK on steroids. And I just want to correct the young man. I'm not going to ignore it and act like he didn't say it. What happened here? Zach, how'd I go back? What happened? Zach. Zach. I clicked on something on the side and it took me to his page or something.
You're going live.
All right. Shalom alaikum, family. I understand that the confusion concerning the solar calendar is the 28-year cycle. I'm attempting to make this as clear as possible. And I'm going to have to send you a copy of the 28-year cycle so that under the correct understanding of solar time can be given. I need a copy of our holy scriptures. Yahweh ben Yahweh is the word. Yahweh ben Yahweh is not a flesh and blood man. Yahweh ben Yahweh is the Holy Bible. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood." The flesh and blood has skin color. What we are sharing with the world is not about skin color. I don't want to speak presumptuously about the Bible. I'm going to stick with the 28-year cycle. The Roman calendar follows the solar calendar. We must understand that our forefathers did not follow the Roman calendar that we use today. Yahweh did not create in the dead of winter. It was not the beginning of the year. The birds and the bees, the trees, everything that Yahweh created except man, know that the year begins in the springtime. Life begins in the springtime. Every year you see it. Life begins in the springtime. Our solar calendar is based upon that fact that Yahweh created in the springtime. And he creates every year in the springtime. Our calendar is based on that fact. The 28-year cycle is based on the fact that, Shalom Aleichem, is based on the fact that the equinox for Israel, the earth is round. So when you see that they say the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, begins around March 21st, well, that is a scientific impossibility. It's not going to be the same day all over the world because the earth is round. See, it can be close to that, and that's what they're basing it on, close to that. But our calendar existed before they came up with that idea. So our calendar is based upon where we were created. Creation began in what is called today, a tiny part of what is called today Israel, North Africa. And that day of 12 hours a day and 12 hours of night would be March the 17th every year. That's what we are basing the 28-year cycle on, because that's what the Roman calendar is based on. Now, initially, Julius Caesar used March the 25th. You have to do your research and study and understand that being in harmony with Yahweh's creation is what gives us dominion. And that's why they changed the calendar, because they knew they could not defeat us as a people unless they changed the time and count us breaking the laws. If we don't know what time it is, if we can't keep the seventh day, which is a sign, it's a sign for us between Israel and Yahweh, for us forever. We must keep the seventh day the way it was given to us from the beginning. And the 28-year cycle is the only way you can find the seventh day. Leap year is a trick. Understand that the Roman numeral system has X, L, C, V, I, but it does not have a zero. You cannot count time correctly starting from 1. The Roman calendar goes from December 31st to January 1st. It does not start from 0. Our solar calendar starts from 0. And it is a correct calculation of the time it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun. It's a perfect calculation. Every 28 years, the Roman calendar realigns itself with the solar calendar. March 17th, again, would be Abib 1 every year, if not for the Roman leap year system. You send for your solar package, and we will send you the 28-year cycle as taught by Yahweh ben Yahweh. And you will understand that this leap year system that they have us under is a trick to keep us from being able to find the seventh day. Because if we're keeping Saturday, or if you're keeping Sunday, or if you're keeping Friday, or any named day, a simple proof of that is just ask yourself this question. Whoever is listening to this, no matter what numbered day you were born on, I don't care what number it is, 1 through 31, any numbered day, it is on a different named day every year. It's the same thing with the seventh day. If you keep the seventh day, it's going to be a different named day every year. Now, Pete Alvarez, I see your comment that the earth doesn't rotate around the sun. I'm not even going to argue that with you. You said it, now prove it. Okay? And as you say that the earth is flat and round with a dome firmament. And Pete Alvarez says that the sun rotates around the earth. And I say prove it. But for now, we're going to stick with you start your own YouTube channel. But for now, we're going to stick with the fact that the earth has been rotating around the sun, just like we still rotate around the sun. The universe is mental, and the most powerful thought on earth is an idea whose time has come. Nothing can stop it. And it's time for our people to wake up to the truth on the seventh day and how to calculate it. That's why I'm sharing it. Because Yahweh Ben Yahweh came and taught us this knowledge. And there is a conspiracy that maybe possibly Pete Alvarez and John Doe, maybe they're a part of that conspiracy that do not want our people to wake up to the truth. And those comments like that is just another effort by the oppressor to make sure that we don't find the seventh day and correct it and correctly calculate it. Again, March 17th will be a Bib 1 every year, if not for the Roman leap year system. And you cannot correctly calculate time starting from 1. That's like saying you're born 1 day old, and you're not born 1 day old. You're born the moment you pop out, you're at 0. Then it's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And this calendar is based on truth. Facts, scientific facts. So when you give scientific fact about the earth being flat and a dome over top, then explain, about how the sun rises in the east and set in the west, and that happening without movement. We're not even going to get into that. Again, the 28-year cycle. March 17th would be a Bib 1 every year. But because of this fact with the Roman calendar, that it starts from 1 and is not a correct computation of the time that it takes the earth to rotate around the sun, then they allow those 4 years of miscalculating time, which they round off to 0.25, but it's actually 0.242199. It is not a 0.25. They just round it off. So it's incorrect computation, but they let it build up for 4 years. And then every 4th year, they add a day and call it leap day or leap year. But at the end of 28 years, they have added 7 days too many to true time. So in order to realign itself with true time and go back to where there's 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night in Israel, they throw away those 7 days added like they never existed and realign itself with the solar time. And that's what is known as the 28-year cycle. But because of that phenomenon and what they're actually doing, a Bib 1 is on March 17th when the Roman calendar aligns with the solar calendar. But then 4 years later, they add a day. They add a 366th day to true time to account for that 0.242199. They add a day. They just do that. They just add a day. So they won't be but so far off. That makes our Abib 1 that was on March 17th on their calendar, the Roman calendar, now be on March 16th. Then 4 years later, they add another day. Now, when they add a day, is March 16th is going to drop by 1 day to March 15th on their calendar. We're still keeping the 7th day. We never change. We never lose the 7th day. But on the Roman calendar, when you compare the two, our Abib 1 will remain the same in 4 years. But every time they add a 366th day, because of that fact that them doing that, our Abib 1 is on a different numbered day on the Roman calendar. So again, I ask that you send us an address to mail to. Pete Alvarez is funny. Oh, and that's the distraction that I'm speaking of. But the 28-year cycle, every time they add a day, they add 7 days too many to true time, which it goes from the 17th, then it's on the 16th, then it's on the 15th, the 14th, the 13th, the 12th. Right now, Abib 1 is on their March the 11th. Now, they're going to add another 366 days, their next leap year, which I believe is 2020 on the Roman calendar, which is the number of years they changed time when they killed the man they called Jesus Christ. That's what they based their calendar on. And they tell you that AD represents after death, that this man was so powerful that they changed their calendar based on when they killed him. AD is actually a representation for the Latin words Anno Domini, which means the year of our domination. They thought they had killed God, and they changed time based on when they killed this man. Again, when they get down to 11, then that has been 28 years, and they have added 7 days too many to true time, and they throw those 7 days away like they never existed. And 17 minus 7 on the Roman calendar, their March 10th, will be when they have 12 hours a day and 12 hours of night in Israel to an exact sunset. And that's when they realign themselves back with the solar calendar. The solar calendar is true time. The Roman calendar is a trick. It is a trick to keep the righteous people of the earth from finding out how to correctly calculate the seventh day. I wonder if I can pause this thing for a minute. I apologize for not having certain tools. Somebody put 1 Samuel 2:8, and I'd like to read it. Tell boy. I will address the questions that make sense. The flat Earth was proven wrong years ago, so I'm not even going to discuss that. We have since then, since it was proven that it's not flat and people don't fall off the edge when they go too far. I mean, we're not even going to discuss that one. But somebody did ask a question about Abib 1 being on March 10th. And that happens every time the Romans realign their calendar with solar time. Abib 1 is on the Roman calendar March 10th for 1 year. And that's known as the closing of the 28-year cycle, or the closing of the 7 leap years. When they close it, they realign with the solar calendar, which Abib 1 would be March 17th on their calendar. But they have added 7 days too many to the calendar, so they throw those 7 days that they've added away. And they can't have Abib 1 on the 17th for 1 year. They have to throw those days away like they never existed. And they put Abib 1 on March 10th because on their calendar, that's when Israel will have 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night. That's based on the fact in Genesis chapter 1, verse 4. And it is measured from sunset to sunset. The evening and the morning is a day. And someone just removed all of the questions or comments. I didn't do that. So I was going to address them as they came on. Someone removed the comments. Maybe something was inappropriate there or something. But if you have any more questions, I'll gladly address them. All right. Shalom alaikum. Did you log in? Because all of the comments went away. I can't see them. They dropped off. You got some flat earth people in there. I'm ignoring them. Is there a way to pause this? Oh, yeah. Is there a way to pause this while I get a Bible? Oh, there you go. I see him now. I don't see it anymore. The John Doe, I'm going to add your question. What happened after 28 years? They just start counting all over again. The 28-year cycle is just the fact that the Roman calendar that we use actually follows the solar calendar that Yahweh ben Yahweh taught us. Every 28 years, they realign themselves with the solar calendar. The solar calendar is a correct computation of the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun. So your question is, what happens after this 28 years? It's a 28-year cycle that the Roman calendar follows, because their calendar is an inaccurate computation of the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun. There's no way you can count time correctly and not have a zero in your counting system. Roman numerals don't have a zero. That and the fact that the year starts in the dead of winter when everything is dying. They incorrectly have us thinking that their first day of the year is January 1. And then they say the vernal equinox, spring, when everything is really coming back to life, they actually use their date of March 21st. Neither of those dates line up with what was given to us by the Creator in the Holy Bible. Our solar calendar is based upon Scripture. It's based upon the creation. In the beginning, Yahweh created, the earth was without form and void. Void is synonymous with zero. The 28-year cycle is just showing how this Roman calendar is a trick. It explains the trick. Cole Mason, you're in the process of constructing your calendar using Scripture. Brad Street, I think I read your question. Oh, here it came back. There's a site out there. It says, how can I find evidence of the date of the equinox in Jerusalem? There's a site called timeanddate.com. And understand that our day is from the evening and the morning, which is from sunset to sunset. And I think on their site they refer to that as I can't believe how they word it, but it's based on the sunset. I think they call it solar. You remember, y'all? Mean, what do they call it? What's the word they call that on that site? No, it wasn't a nautical. No, it wasn't a nautical. It dealt with sunset. But our day is calculated from sunset to sunset. Our email address, I guess I can put that in there. Let's see, how do I comment? Can I type in there? It's boss.ch7@gmail.com. I'm trying to see where I can type this in, so forgive me. It's not visible tonight, right? Maybe. There it is. Okay, I see it. Say it again. It's what called the civil equinox? No. No. That didn't sound quite right. Twilight. It's called the twilight. That's what it's. Yeah, it's called the twilight equinox. I believe it's one. Cole Mason, according to your calculation, the month of Bill started March 18th. Where are you located on the planet? Are you located in Israel? And was your equinox based on sunset to sunset? I agree with you, John Doe. Bib 1 was March the 11th on the Roman calendar for this year, based on the 28-year cycle. And where they had the evening and the morning equinox for Israel. Yeah, I saw that. That may be why his calculations are off, if he based it upon the equinox for that area. See, because of the earth being round, our time is different depending upon where you're located on the planet. Peter Alvarez. Moon cycles. Moon cycles are 28 days. And there are 13 lunar cycles in a year. Which adds up to 364 days. Again, our solar calendar is based upon the time it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun. Peter Alvarez. So you say that the Earth is not round and that the Earth rotates around, the sun rotates around the Earth, then we're gonna ask you to explain these lunar cycles that you just brought up. Explain why the moon is light on the right certain times of the month, and the moon has light on the left at certain times of the month. If the earth is flat and the sun rotates around the earth. We're gonna give you the floor. Type that in the box. Why that occurs? Why the light? Explain that with your flat Earth philosophy. Explain that occurrence. Oh, so he said a reflection off the firmament. Is it? All right. Okay. So I guess we. All right. Shalom alaikum, brother Hiram Abiff. Yeah, I'm going to ignore him. Pete Alvarez is here to cause confusion. He's not one to study. If he studied, yeah, if he studied, he know that there is no flat Earth. He's just here to cause confusion. But Pete Alvarez, there are a lot of people on this call that have studied much more than what you think. So you go with that nonsense that you spew somewhere where people don't study. Eric Howard, thank you. Eric Howard said, Pete Alvarez, no one wants to hear that stuff. And he claims he studied it. Then share your studies. I just asked you to explain how the moon has light on the right for certain times of the month. And then it has light on the left on certain times of the month. How does that happen if the earth is flat and the sun is rotating around the earth? How does that happen? Again, our solar calendar is based upon the time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun from a fixed point in the heavens back to that fixed point in the heavens. And we are concerned with calculating the seventh day. Keeping the seventh day holy is what this call is about. Brad Streeter, question, how do we account for zero in that rotation? Zero is the starting point. Going from 0 to 1 is how the year starts. The earth and the area is such an expanse of space. It's 365 days in a year. The point from where it starts is zero. The equinox for Israel is the starting point. The evening and the morning was the first day. It begins with darkness. So our solar year begins day of the year. So because the evening and the morning is a day, the evening of the 364th day and the morning of the 365th day is the end of the year. Again, the evening of the 364th day and the morning of the 365th day is the end of the year. So the evening of the 365th day and the morning of the first day, that's day one. So therefore, when we say Abib 1 begins on March the 11th, the evening of March the 10th and the morning of March the 11th is the first day. Cole Mason, in the sense that a conjunction is adjoining, yes. Is there a way to remove Pete Alvarez? How you remove him? Yeah, he's stupid. Pete Everett is stupid. Yeah. There you go. He's gone. Yeah. I hope y'all don't mind. um, Brother Brad Streeter, did I answer your question about zero? Yeah. Okay. The end of the year. What about the 5 hours, 48 minutes, 45.51 seconds? That is the time that it takes for the zero position, the starting position. That's why that is what the Roman calendar uses that amount of time, which written as a decimal is 0.242199. And they let that amount of time add up for 4 years, and they add a day every 4 years and call it a leap day. But on the solar calendar, our calendar starts from that 0 point. And going from 0 to 1 accounts for that 48 point, that 0.242199. Uh, Cole Mason, no, we don't set anything. Your question, so you recommend setting the calendar as it is in Jerusalem. We follow the Bible, Genesis chapter 1. See, this is where creation started. And again, the earth being a sphere, being round, the equinox is different, is on a different day depending upon where you're located on the planet. And because creation began in that area of North Africa, a tiny part of which is called Israel today, that's why we use it. We don't set it, we follow what Yahweh gave us. Um, John Doe. You would have to explain what you mean about what the lunar calendar is talking about. the lunar calendar is accurate with moon cycles, but it's not accurate with the time it takes the Earth to rotate around the sun. We're speaking of the solar calendar and keeping the seventh day because Yahweh gave us the great light to rule the day. Now, I agree with you that the lunar calendar is accurate in talking about lunar cycles. But it's not accurate in keeping the seventh day. Right. Leap year is a trick. Changing the calendar is a trick. It's a fulfillment of prophecy in Daniel 7:5. When they said they would think to change the time and season. The Romans knew that the only way they could defeat Israel was to get us to break the law. And the most dynamic law is the seventh day. All of the feast dates that Israel keep are based on keeping the seventh day. When you study the scripture, you'll find out that when Israel went into captivity and Yahweh punished Israel, it was always for breaking the law and keeping laws of the people around us. So, namely, the Assyrians taught the Romans that the only way you can defeat Israel is to get Israel to break the law. So, Julius Caesar changed the calendar, and eventually, wicked rulership came into power and got the whole world deceived and keeping time incorrectly. So now it's time for us to return to the Creator, Yahweh, and keep time the way He taught us in the beginning. And the solar calendar, as taught to us by Yahweh ben Yahweh, is the only way we can do it. The seventh day is not Saturday. The seventh day is not any named day. The seventh day is the seventh day. And if you keep any numbered day, it's going to be a different named day every year. Just like if you keep the number of your birthday, if you're born if your birthday is on Monday this year, it'll be Tuesday next year. Because you're keeping that numbered day. It's the same thing with the seventh day. If you keep the seventh day, it's going to be a different named day every year. And a Bib 1 is going to be a different numbered day every 4 years. The universe is mental, Mr. McGill. Man made laws, but Yahweh made seasons. Man made restrictions is a better word for it. Yahweh made laws. Sun rises in the east and set in the west. That's law. Can't change it. The time it takes the earth to rotate around the sun from a fixed point in the heavens back to that fixed point in the heavens, that's law. You can't change it. If we're not keeping solar time, we're keeping the high holy days at the wrong time, and we remain under the curse. When we don't keep the solar calendar correctly and you're keeping the feast at the wrong time, in our ignorance, we are praising other gods. And we remain under the curse as the nation of Israel. That's why it's so important that we learn how to calculate the solar calendar. And understand that the earth is not flat, and that the moon does not rule time, does not rule the day. The great light rules the day. Actually, the great light rules the day and the night. The moon doesn't have a light, it only reflects the light of the sun. And he says in 2020 he'll have another calendar. Actually, our solar year is 6019, I believe. No, what is it? 6023. I believe 6023 will need, yeah, you will need another calendar. Their 2020 and their February will have 29 days. Brad Streeter, the solar calendar that was used in ancient Egypt is the same calendar that I'm giving to you today. And that's what has caused a lot of confusion because the Egyptians and Israel were the same people. And that can be verified with the Bible. The fact that this calendar was the calendar that was used in ancient Egypt is one testimony. Kept the same laws. If you read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 52, verse 4, it tells you that it was the Assyrians that came into Egypt. And that's when Israel left. when there arose a prophet, when there arose a Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph. Yes. Same calendar, same people. And if you read further, you'll find that when Israel left Egypt, it wasn't just Israel that left. It was a mixed multitude that left with Israel. Same people. From Genesis to Revelation, Brother Cole Mason, I invite you to come on our Sabbath call. We have a Sabbath call sundown Friday this year at 8 o'clock, and we can share those scriptures with you. If you're in the States, I know that some of you brothers and sisters are not in the States. And we'll share those scriptures that prove to you that Joseph was as Pharaoh, and when Israel left, a lot of more people left with Israel. And it was the Assyrians that invaded Israel that came in there and persecuted the Israelites. He's in the West Indies. Yeah, I didn't tell him. That's Friday night. Yeah. Is already another calendar made for after the cycle. It's the same calendar, John Doe. It's the same calendar. They follow the same 28-year cycle. What changes is the year. The year changes and the Bib 1 changes, but their solar calendar has 30 days each. 12 months. 12 months of 30 days each. At the end of the 360th day, you count 5 days and start all over again. But again, the evening of the 364th day and the morning of the 365th day is the end of the year? No, it's not year zero. You just started the evening of the 365th day. Zero is there because the Bible teaches us in Genesis 1 and 2 that the earth was without form and void. The name month of Abib is not named after the moon. Abib is the only month that has a name. I can't answer whether it was named after the moon or not. Yahweh named the month. That's the only month that has a name. The month Abib and the Sabbath. And the only day that has a name is the Sabbath. So it's been about an hour here. So I'm gonna, again, if anybody want a calendar, text the mailing address. BOSSCH7 John Doe at gmail.com. BOSSCH7 at gmail.com. $2021. John Doe, you are mixing up solar time with lunar time. So you're asking me a Roman date and asking me about a solar month, named month. That's confusion. Their 2021 would, yeah, actually begin in our, I believe it would begin in their 6023, wouldn't it? That's confusing to me. Cole Mason, Ecclesiastes 43:8. That's Eastern Standard Time, Divine Mind, which would be 5 p.m. West Coast time. So I'm going to say Shalom Aleichem for now, and we'll be back next Saturday. And share some more understanding. Hopefully we can get some better visuals here. We're working on it. So, Shalom Aleichem. Ecclesiastes 43:8. Yes, he's using a different Bible. I ain't had nobody here with me tonight. I'm in Tambour's bedroom.